In the far edges of the galaxy, where the human fleets once roamed, a single man, named Aaron, drifted among the wreckage of forgotten wars. His ship was half broken, his heart even more. So he had lost his crew, and his home was nothing but a memory when the distress signal came from a nearby moon. He thought it was just another echo of lost souls, but something in that signal, a voice soft and trembling, pulled him toward it. He landed on the cracked surface, the air thin, the light dim, and there she was, an alien girl chained by glowing bands of energy, her eyes wide like the stars themselves. She looked at him as if he was both her doom and her salvation. Aaron stepped closer, and she flinched, as if expecting pain. He spoke, but she did not understand his words still. He reached out, disabling the chains with his worn tools. The metal hissed, the glow faded, and she fell into his arms, light as a feather yet heavy with fear. When she woke inside his ship, she saw him working quietly, fixing what little power he had left. She whispered something in her language, and he only smiled, offering her water. She hesitated, then drank, her hands shaking as if she expected him to strike her. She did not know kindness, only command. She thought she had been captured again. She thought he had made her his slave. Aaron tried to explain using gestures, showing her the stars, the open door, the freedom she had, but she stayed near the corner, as if invisible chains still held her. The days passed slowly. He taught her small words: human tongue, water, food, sleep. She learned fast, her eyes following his every move. One night, as the ship drifted through the quiet void, she came closer, her hand touching his shoulder, asking with her eyes why he freed her. He could not answer with words that would make sense to her. So he showed her a picture, a hologram of his fallen crew and family. He pointed to himself, then to her, and placed his hand over his heart. She understood, or maybe she only thought she did, for she bowed her head and said a word that meant master. Aaron froze, shaking his head. He tried to correct her, but the word stayed. She believed she was his, now bound by some alien custom of gratitude and servitude. Every act of kindness made her kneel lower, every shared meal made her think she owed more. He grew frustrated, not at her, but at the gulf between their worlds. She was intelligent, curious, and strong, yet the fear behind her beauty made her a ghost of what she could be. One morning he woke to find her cleaning the ship, organizing tools, repairing circuits, as if serving a purpose. She was proud of it, but when he tried to stop her, she looked terrified, as if disobeying meant punishment. So he let her be, hoping time would heal what culture had broken. He began to teach her about humanity, not the wars, not the fleets, but the small things: laughter, music, stories. She listened, as if every word was sacred. Sometimes she laughed, a sound so soft it made the cold metal walls feel warm. For the first time in years, Aaron began to see her not as an alien or a refugee, but as a person lost and searching like him. One night during a meteor storm, they sat side by side, watching streaks of light across the viewport. She whispered his name the way humans did, uncertain and sweet. He looked at her, and something inside him changed. He realized how alone they both were, how the universe had thrown them together, not by chance, but by need. When she placed her hand on his chest again, he did not stop her, but neither did he claim ownership. He only said softly, "Free, you are free." She tilted her head, confused. He smiled, gently saying again, "Free." She nodded slowly, but the word held no meaning for her. She believed freedom was something only granted by a master, so she thought he was giving her a gift that still bound her to him. When they reached an abandoned human station, she saw other humans through the window. She panicked, clutching his arm, begging not to be left behind. She thought he would sell her or give her away. Aaron stood silent, the pain of her fear cutting deeper than any wound. He promised with gestures and eyes that he would never harm her. She calmed, but her gaze never left him, as if any second he might vanish. When the station's systems came alive, she found a reflection in the glass and touched it. She whispered in her tongue words of confusion and shame. She could not understand why he showed her care without demand. She believed it was a test. Humans were not kind without reason. She had been told that by her people that humans took and never gave. Yet Aaron gave her warmth, food, safety, and a name. He called her Lyra, and when he said it, her eyes shone like twin stars. Lyra began to dream again. She started drawing on the walls of the ship, small symbols glowing softly. They were memories of her world and hopes for a new one. Aaron watched silently, feeling pride he did not expect. She told him once through broken human words that she was once a scientist studying the minds of other species. Before war turned her world into cages, she was captured by those who called themselves liberators, yet made her a tool. Now freed, she could not imagine living without orders. So she served him not because she had to, but because she believed that was the only way to deserve life. Aaron tried everything to show her otherwise. He shared his rations, his space, his stories. He even gave her control of the ship's navigation. She trembled, but accepted it. Each action she made, she looked at him for approval. Every mistake, she feared a strike that never came. The night he finally slept without nightmares, she stood beside him, watching his face in the dim glow of the ship. She whispered softly in her own tongue that she would serve him forever if it kept that peace on his face. He woke and caught her whisper, He asked what she said. She only smiled, saying servant words. He sighed, tired of fighting her belief. But unable to break her heart, still something grew between them, fragile and bright, when a human patrol ship appeared on their scanners. He told her to hide, but she refused. She thought if they saw her they would hurt him. She stood beside him as the humans boarded, their weapons ready. The soldiers looked at her. And then at him. One of them joked about keeping alien pets. Aaron's eyes burned. He drew his weapon and said she was no pet, she was his companion, his equal. His words echoed across the comm channel. And silence followed. The soldiers lowered their guns, perhaps seeing the fire in his stance. When they left, Lyra stared at him, shaking her head. She thought he had risked his life for his property. She could not process sacrifice without ownership. Her world had never taught love, only loyalty. Later, she sat in her corner, whispering that she belonged to him forever. He listened quietly. And when she finally looked up at him, he said, Lyra, you do not belong to anyone but yourself. She did not understand, but she felt something change inside, like a chain loosening. He smiled and asked her a question she could not answer, yet it would haunt her until the end of stars. He asked if she wanted to stay, not because she must, but because she wished. She stared, eyes wide, trembling, unable to speak. She felt her chest tighten, her breath catch, the universe silent around them. She did not know what freedom meant, but for the first time she wanted to learn. And as the stars drifted beyond the window, she whispered his name again, not as a servant, not as a captive, but as something new, something she did not yet understand. And Aaron smiled, knowing that somewhere between the wreckage of worlds and the silence of space, two souls had begun to rebuild what both had lost. Time moved like a slow river through the endless dark as Aaron and Lyra drifted between stars, their ship patched and bruised, but still alive. The silence between them had changed. It was no longer made of fear, but of unspoken questions. She watched him as he repaired the engines, learning his methods, his patience, his steady hands. She began to mirror his calm, and he began to mirror her wonder. Sometimes, when she touched the controls, the ship hummed smoother, as if it recognized her gentle rhythm. Aaron noticed, but said nothing, letting her believe the ship obeyed her. Well, one day they found a signal from a distant colony, human and alien working together, building peace. After years of war, Aaron saw hope in that message and decided to head there. Lyra, however, grew quiet. She had never known a place where both kinds could live as equals. She feared that if they reached it, she would lose him. She did not understand, yet, that love could stay even without chains. When the ship entered the nebula, storms raged around them, lightning across the void. Aaron shouted orders, guiding Lyra to stabilize the core. She obeyed without hesitation, but a sudden surge broke through the shields and threw her across the deck. He ran to her. She was bleeding, faint, but alive. She looked up, whispering his name. He held her close, whispering back words she could not fully grasp. You are free, he said again. And again she smiled weakly, saying she would always serve him. He shook his head, tears mixing with the smoke. You are not my servant, he said. You are my friend, my heart. His words were strange to her, but they echoed somewhere deep beyond language. When the storm passed, he carried her to the med chamber and stayed beside her for days. She healed slowly, and during that time, she began to dream new dreams, not of servitude, but of standing beside him in light, not shadow. She drew those dreams in glowing lines across the walls. A sun, two figures holding hands, a home among stars. Aaron saw and smiled. One night as the engines purred softly, she stood before him, trembling, her voice uncertain. She asked, why do you keep me? He looked up, confused. She said, if I am free, why am I still here? He answered, because I want you to be, not because you must be. Her eyes widened, her breath caught. She had never been wanted for being herself. She stepped closer, touching his chest again, feeling the rhythm beneath his skin. She said in broken human words, then I stay for me. He nodded. She smiled, and for the first time she felt whole. Days later, they reached the colony orbit, a vast ring of light circling a blue world filled with ships and laughter, humans and aliens together working, rebuilding. Aaron contacted the station. They welcomed them in, offering supplies and rest. When they landed, people stared at Lyra. She felt their eyes like needles, old fear rising. She hid behind Aaron, but he took her hand, leading her through the crowd. Some whispered, some smiled. An old commander recognized him, a hero once lost, presumed dead. They saluted him, asked who she was. Aaron looked at and said softly, she is my partner, my equal. His voice steady. She froze, not knowing what to feel. Partner, equal. Such words never belonged to her before, yet when she looked in his eyes, she saw truth. They gave them a home, small but warm, overlooking the sea of clouds. Days passed in peace. She worked beside humans, learning, teaching, fixing machines, using her alien knowledge to help them grow. She became a bridge between species, her past slowly fading, but some nights she still woke trembling from dreams of chains. Aaron would be there holding her, telling her she was safe. One evening under the glowing twin moons they sat together. He asked her if she missed her world. She said she missed what it could have been, not what it was. He nodded, saying humanity was the same, always dreaming of what it could be. She smiled and said maybe together they could build it. Then silence again, soft and full of meaning. She looked at him long and deep. He asked what she was thinking. She said, "I do not know how to repay you." He laughed, gently saying, "You do not need to repay kindness, you only need to live it." She thought about that for many nights. Then one morning, she stood before him, holding something she had made from metal and light, a small charm shaped like two stars touching. She placed it in his hand, saying in her tongue a word that meant unity. He asked what it meant. She said, "It means we belong not as owner and owned, but as hearts that choose each other." He smiled and said then, "Will you be my wife?" She froze. Time itself seemed to stop. The world vanished around them. She had been called slave, servant, captive, but never wife. The word felt heavy, sacred. She trembled, unable to breathe. She thought he was joking. Humans, married humans, not aliens, not those who once served. But his face was calm, sincere. She whispered, "Why me?" He said, "Because you taught me what freedom truly means." She looked down, tears falling without sound. She said in a shaking voice, "I am not worthy." He took her hands, saying, "You already are." Lyra, she tried to speak, but the words dissolved into light. She nodded slowly, saying yes, her voice soft, but strong. From that day, they were bound not by chains, not by command, but by choice. The colony celebrated their union. Some laughed, some doubted, but all could see the love that crossed stars. They built a small workshop near the cliffs, repairing ships and teaching young ones, human and alien, alike, to see beyond difference. Lyra became known as the Bridge of Stars. Her inventions powered cities, her wisdom ended conflicts. But she never forgot the cold cell where she first met him. Sometimes when the wind howled, she would remember and whisper, "Thank you to the universe for sending him." Aaron aged, but never lost his spark. He always said humanity's greatest strength was not power or technology, but the heart that could love even the unknown. One day, long after peace had spread across worlds, Lyra found Aaron sitting by the sea, staring at the horizon. He looked tired. She sat beside him, holding his hand. He smiled, saying, "Remember when you thought I made you a slave?" She laughed softly. "Yes, I was so foolish." He said, "No, you were brave. You chose to trust." She said, "And you chose to see me." He nodded. The sun dipped below the clouds, casting golden light. She whispered in her tongue words that meant eternal together. He closed his eyes, whispering her name as the stars rose that night. He passed quietly, his hand still in hers. He wept, but not with sorrow, for she knew love does not end. It changes, becomes light, becomes memory. She built a monument of light at the shore, where they first landed, two figures standing together beneath endless sky. People from across galaxies came to see it, and they spoke of the human who freed an alien girl, and the alien who taught a human what freedom truly was. Centuries later, travelers would still whisper their story in ships drifting between stars. They would say that when the sky is clear, you can see two stars side by side, shining brighter than all others. They call them Aaron and Lyra, the souls who turned servitude into love and loneliness into hope. And so their story became a song sung by both human and alien voices across generations, a tale not of conquest, but of understanding, not of power, but of heart. And in that eternal melody, their love lived on forever.